Not about the house. It's about what has changed. Have you ever noticed that almost nobody wakes up one morning and says, you know, I think I just want a different house? That's not usually how it happens. People don't move because they suddenly fall out of love with their kitchen or they decide they need another bedroom. Most of the time, they move because life changed. Maybe the kids have grown up and moved out, and suddenly that home that was once filled with noise, it just feels a little too quiet. Maybe you just welcomed your first baby, and the house that felt perfect a year ago is starting to feel a little tight. And maybe you accepted a new job across town or across the country. Maybe you're retiring, and you're realizing you'd rather spend your weekends traveling than mowing the lawn. Maybe you're a military family getting new orders and you're trying to figure out what life looks like in a place you've never called home before. Or maybe life handed you a chapter that you never expected, like a divorce. And now you're trying to figure out what comes next. Every story is different, but they all have one thing in common. The house didn't change. You did. I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about real estate. They think my job is to help people buy and sell houses. And yes, don't get me wrong, that's certainly part of it. But after all of these years, I've realized my real job is helping people navigate through change. Because buying or selling a home is rarely just a transaction. It's often one of the biggest transitions we'll ever experience. It can be exciting, it can be emotional, sometimes it's stressful, and sometimes it's bittersweet. And sometimes it's all of those things at the same time. That's why I believe the conversation should never start with, how many bedrooms do you want? It should start with, tell me what's changing in your life. Because once I understand where you're going, then we can figure out where you should live. So I've sat at kitchen tables with couples who were so excited about retirement, but they were overwhelmed by leaving the home where they raised their family. I've helped first-time parents realize they weren't just buying more square footage. They were creating that place where birthdays, holidays, and family memories and traditions would happen. I've worked with military families who had to make those huge decisions on short timelines while trying to create a stability for their kiddos. And I've helped people through incredibly difficult seasons when selling a home wasn't something they wanted. It was simply the next step towards moving forward. Every one of those experiences reminds me of something. Real estate isn't really about the houses. It's about the people. If you're in a season where life feels different, maybe you've been wondering, is my current home still fitting the lifestyle that I'm building? Not because someone told you it's a good time to buy, or because someone said, hey, it's a good time to sell, but because something inside you knows this chapter feels different than the last one. That's a conversation worth having. And here's the good news. Sometimes the answer is yes, it's time to move. And sometimes the answer is no. Your current home is exactly where you should be. Both are great outcomes because the goal isn't to sell you a house. The goal is to help you make the right decision for your life. So let me leave you with one question. If your life today looks different than it did 5 years ago, does your home still support the life you're trying to build? If the answer is yes, that's fantastic. If the answer is, I'm not really sure, I'd love to sit down, hear your story, and help you explore your options. No pressure, no sales pitch, just a conversation about where you are today and where you want your next chapter to take you. Because sometimes it's not about the house. It's about what changed. I'm Lee Wilson with Boise's Best, and I look forward to hearing your story.